Now that you're into revising Essay 2, I'd like to take a couple of minutes and talk about some of the things that I'm seeing in your rough drafts and direct you to some resources and give you some tips as you're revising. So let's start with the goal of Essay 2. The goal of Essay 2 is to essentially explain to your readers the general opinion or the public opinion surrounding your issue. So what you're doing in Essay 2 is what our textbook calls synthesizing sources. So I'd like to draw your attention back to Chapter 25. Chapter 25 was assigned a couple of weeks ago, and it's a quick chapter, so it's kind of easy to overlook, but it's really important in terms of Essay 2. Chapter 25 covers exactly what we're trying to do for Essay 2. So what is it that we're trying to do? Well, synthesizing sources means that you're taking multiple opinions, perspectives, voices, ideas, sources, and you're bringing them together to create something new. So in this case, an essay. Now, our textbook authors start out chapter 25 with the idea of music mashups. So they talk about putting new lyrics to old tunes or sampling bits and pieces of established or existing music and creating something new out of it. In other words, TikTok, right? No, but in all seriousness, I really like that example because we do this all the time in modern society. We mash up lots of things when we're creating memes and videos and all sorts of things. So that's what we're doing in Essay 2. We're synthesizing sources. Chapter 25 is a really valuable resource because our authors give you several things to consider when you are synthesizing sources and talk about the goal of doing so and some questions to ask yourself as well about your sources. So now we move into Essay 2, which is what you're working on. And again, that goal is to be bringing in all of these sources and then use that to draw conclusions about what most people are thinking about your issue. So again, this is not a traditional essay approach, and a lot of people do have a little bit of difficulty approaching this assignment. So I want to draw your attention to a really good example of what we're trying to do in Essay 2. And that is the article, Can We Survive on Mars by Joe Carlo, which is available in our current materials folder. So in this article, Joe Carlo's topic is what the title says, Can We Survive on Mars? She's looking into the possibility that we can travel and live on Mars and the feasibility of it. So can we and should we? So in order to answer this question, Joe Carlo brings in many different experts on the topic. She brings in the opinions of molecular biology researchers. She brings in the opinions of people who study human psychology, who study the growth of food. She brings in the perspective of astronauts, the perspective of people who are looking into the financial parts of traveling to Mars. So all of these different experts. She brings in all the voices, and then by the end of her article, we can conclude, right, or we can draw conclusions about the topic. So when you get to the end of the article, you see that there's a lot that goes into this, that we are probably not quite there yet in terms of colonizing Mars, but that most people, most experts anyway, think that it is a worthwhile goal to pursue. So that's what I'm talking about for Essay 2. Give us your topic, find out what all the people involved are saying about it, and then conclude, essentially, what is the majority opinion. Now, with some topics, you might not have a majority opinion, and you might conclude that there's still disagreement or more research is needed. So it all depends on your topic and what you find. But this article, Can We Survive on Mars, is a great example of what we're trying to do in Essay 2. There are also some student examples of Essay 2 in the materials folder, and so you can see how students are synthesizing sources and drawing conclusions. One of the student samples is Child of Addiction, and in that essay, the student looks at many different perspectives around the problem of substance abuse and addiction in the United States, and she brings in dozens of voices, people who have struggled with addiction, their loved ones, politicians, medical doctors, tons of different voices. And in the end, she concludes that everyone can agree that we have a problem in this country with substance abuse and addiction, but no one has yet found a good solution for it. So you can see that's a little bit different than Carlo's article, right? But in all of these cases, in all of these samples, The authors have found multiple sources, brought them together, and created an essay or an article that teaches the readers something about what people are thinking about the issue. So I wrote a long course announcement about this, but this video I think is a little bit easier sometimes than reading all that black and white text, because it's just easier to think about how this relates to your own topic, right? And hear how some of these readings that we're doing in class are related to you. I want to finish this off by giving a couple of student examples from this semester and how they're approaching their essays. So one concern that I keep hearing with Essay 2 is that people aren't sure how to begin the essay. So what to do for that introduction. I did list some ideas for this in the course announcement for week 8, but I wanted to give you an example. I have a student who is writing about the employees at Walmart being disgruntled and unhappy with many things, but essentially scheduling issues and pay. So, of course, this student is talking to a lot of her fellow employees. She attempted to talk to one employee, a manager, and discovered that manager had just been fired for a very minor infraction. So this student can now use that as a way to introduce her essay. She can start out with this story of the manager who got fired and then say, this is one example of why people at Walmart are very upset about the working conditions. And then she can get into the rest of the conversation. I know several students this semester are writing about abortion and reproductive rights. That topic has a lot of history. And so you could open your essay by giving a history of the topic before getting into the current conversation about it. So there's all sorts of ways to do this. As you're reading through those student samples, as well as Joe Carlo's article about Mars, pay attention to how those authors are starting their essays and articles. Okay, so this is getting a bit long, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page for Essay 2. The goal is not to give your opinion, to share your own story. The goal isn't even to write a traditional research essay. The goal is simply to find out what is the current conversation in the public about your issue. So please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I really look forward to reading your final drafts and helping you if you need any more help. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Good luck on Essay 2.